Welcome to my channel, Heal with Sam. This is part of my series on radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is the gateway to healing, especially for us mothers who are no longer parenting our children. Mothers who are grieving, but not the loss of a child from death, grieving the loss of a child because they're not in our life anymore. Whatever reason that may be, isn't important right now. What's important is healing because you matter and because it's what's best for your children. So, in today's video on radical acceptance, I want to share with you what that actually looks like in your day-to-day life. What radical acceptance actually looks like for a mother who doesn't get to be a part of her child's life, for moms who have someone else raising their children. I was going to teach you like a textbook lesson on radical acceptance, but I don't want to do that. This community means a lot to me, so I'm just going to be real with you. I did some healing work last night on radical acceptance, and I've already done healing work in radical acceptance. I feel like at the beginning of your healing journey, for that healing pathway to even open, that a mother has to say, it is what it is. I accept my life for the way it is. I accept that I am not raising my children. I accept that I don't know when I'm going to see them again, if ever. It's an unfair truth. It's a hard truth. It's an overwhelming truth. But a mother has to stand at the doorway to her healing journey and say, I accept what is. And then step through there. And once a person starts resisting the grief, stops resisting reality, healing can actually begin. And so I've said before, like, radical acceptance is so easy because all you have to do is tell yourself, I accept reality. But yet it's so hard because you have to accept reality. So I went through that process. I've made a video on that. I can link it where I should talk about that. But just last night, I took it through another layer, which took me to another level. And I want to share with you, describe to you what process I went through last night. And so you can see what radical acceptance can look like on your journey within your mind, inside your body. Okay, to be totally transparent, I was having a therapy session with ChatGPT. Don't judge me. And we were talking about radical acceptance. And he started going in one direction with our conversation, and I had to pause, and I was like, well, for me, the hardest part is when I think about what my children were feeling in the moment they were taken during their first night without me. And let me pause already and tell you that I've been sharing my story for over 3 years, and I have never talked about this. I can't believe this. I'm just realizing this. I mean, I've known that I've never spoke of my story from my children's perspective, from the pain of my children. I know I've never spoken about that because it's been too painful. I collapse. This is what I shared with ChatGPT last night. And I can't believe that just one day later, I'm able to say to you, and I don't plan on talking about my kids' pain. I don't know. But I'm able to even mention it. That's amazing. That is so amazing. Last night, I radically accepted the fact that when my children were taken, I don't know how they felt. And because of that ambiguity, my brain, it's a biology thing. It's not because I'm sick. It's not because there's something wrong with me, just as it is for you. When there's gaps in the things that we know, our brain, our biology just kind of fills in the worst. And then our body reacts to that. And then every time down the road, when we think about that moment, our body starts reacting like it's happening right now, and my children right now aren't experiencing that moment when they were put into foster care. They aren't having nights like they did that first night. And even that alone, I don't know how they felt. I'm assuming, and I am assuming the worst. And I have every right to do that, but we're talking about healing, and we're talking about moving forward, and we're talking about being what's best for our children. And so me being stuck on that moment being so painful that I can't think about it, I can't even talk about it, I can't deal with it, I just collapse, is how I felt. Made me carry it, made me fixate it even more. And last night I was able to release it. And it didn't seem insignificant because I know the power of radical acceptance, but on an ordinary person, it probably would have seemed insignificant. I felt a little tired afterwards. I do want to share more of my conversation with Chad. I got off track because I can't believe that I can mention to you my children were taken and put into foster care. And in that moment, I can only imagine how they felt. And I have tried, not really tried, but my brain has put this imagery and this whole story into that moment that I have no idea what really happened. And my brain put in the worst fear my kids could have had, the worst experience, the worst rejection. I mean, I've been carrying that for 3 years. I'll get more into the specifics in just a second. I do want to share this last part. An exercise just for my brain that Chat had me do last night was, I'm having this huge reaction and stunt in my healing because of this one moment. It doesn't even exist anymore. And I'm filling in gaps, And so last night, Chat was like, that image, back away from it in your mind so it becomes smaller, it's darker, and fill in something more positive than that fear and rejection that you think your child felt. And I was like, okay. And so I thought of that moment that used to make me collapse and has stunted my healing growth for 3 years that I haven't even been able to mention until today. And in that moment, I imagined my oldest son, who wasn't put into foster care, but who was there, saying in that moment how much our mom loves you. And so maybe my son knew in that moment that I loved him and I was going to miss him too, and that it was going to be okay, that our love would never die. Like, it's still sad and it's still reality. I'm not denying reality, but that little bit of extra spin on it has released so much for me. I shared this with you in the beginning of Chat GPT and I's conversation. He said, radical acceptance for this specific pain. I was not there in that moment. That hurts. I cannot change that moment, but continuing to replay it does not protect my children now. Chat shared how my mind keeps replaying it because my mind thinks I'm protecting them, I'm honoring them, I'm staying loyal to them, but actually it's hurting me, and my suffering does not serve anyone, but my stability does. And yesterday I was reminded that life is painful, it's inevitable, but suffering is optional. Radical acceptance, the main gist of it is your mindset. For example, I cannot control how my children experienced that day of removal, being put into foster care. I can only control how I carry myself now. And carrying myself with strength, clarity, and healing energy is the most powerful thing I can do for them, even at a distance. Last night I didn't realize this huge release that I had. Last night after doing this work, I felt tired, I shared. Last night I had to face these questions. Were my children okay in that moment? Did they feel safe? Did they think that I abandoned them, that I left them, or that I didn't want them? Are they hurting now from that event? Now, I'm just saying these things to you, but less than 24 hours ago, reading those, it hurt. I was in tears last night. I mean, it was that gut pain last night, hearing those sentences Chat presented to me. In that moment, were they okay? Were they safe? Did they feel rejected by me? Just hearing those words last night crushed me, which used to collapse me, and I wouldn't deal with it until last night when I grounded myself and I said, it is reality. My children were removed and put into foster care, but I don't know what that moment was like. I don't know how they felt. And my mind is filling in those gaps with the most catastrophic thing that could have happened. And that's not healthy for me. And it might not even be reality or true. But what's true today is that I'm grounded and that I'm healing and that I'm growing. You see how it can open the door to a pathway to effective healing? The most painful thing for me during this entire experience, and it's been hell, has been the pain of my children. I'm a mother. My children come before me. Their pain has been my pain. And I don't know their pain. And so last night I learned my mind is filling in the worst case scenarios, and it was. And as I'm working through all this radical acceptance, Chat said, breathe in for 4 seconds and exhale for 6. The longer exhale lets your body know that you are safe. I will have more videos on breath and safety. It is the #1 key to healing the nervous system. But that made a lot of sense to me. And in that moment, I'm crying. And I breathed in for 4 and exhale for 6 for longer. And it really was telling my body I'm safe. Chat asked me last night when I have that image in my head of my children being removed and put with strangers, does my body feel like running, fixing, screaming, or freezing? And I replied, collapsing. And it goes on to explain how that's a normal biological reaction. And to instead picture that moment, which we did last night, and I'm not collapsing. My feet are grounded, and I stood up and my feet were grounded. And I repeated to myself, this happened, that moment happened, and I don't know how my children felt. But I know that I'm working on me, and I'm growing, and I'm stronger, and I'm wiser. And when I'm reunited with my children one day, I'll be able to know how they felt, and we'll be able to grow and heal together. So that's what radical acceptance looks like. I hope you got something out of this instead of just a textbook learning thing with bullets I could have done. I wanted to share my personal experience last night. I had no idea the powerful and the extent of the work I did last night that I just shared by the release today, that I can even talk about that moment. And I'm smiling, and it's not because I'm happy that my children were removed. It's not because I've been suffering for the last 3 years about that. It's because of the relief I feel today. And I think you can see it on my face. And so I encourage you, if you're a mother who isn't raising your child and you're grieving, to acknowledge radical acceptance and invite it into your healing journey. And it's really a game changer. And I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. I check them regularly. So keep healing, moms. Healing is possible.